Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Anomaly Detected podcast. I am your host, Mike Faria, and I have my cat here. This is Special Agent Scully, right? Well, funny story about her is that we used to spell her name Skully because, as you can see, she has a triangle for a nose. So, I just thought it was reminiscent of a skull. But since I started doing this podcast, I decided to change the K in her name to a C, and she is now Special Agent Scully. And she is very pop open pregnant. She's getting ready to give birth to some babies, so she might not be with me for a couple upcoming episodes, but we'll see when she's due. I think she'll probably have them within the next 2 weeks, and then I'll start putting out videos of the kittens too. So this episode right here, I wanted to talk about a conversation that I had with my friend Matt. We were in the Air Force together about 20 years ago, and after last episode, when I was talking about those triangular type UFOs, he texted me and he told me a little bit about something that he saw, and I was wanting to get in touch with him and talk to him and get some more details, because he said that there were too many details for him to put in a text. I tried calling him, but I wasn't able to get through. But I got a little bit to go on from there. And what he was telling me, just briefly in a text, was that one day he was driving down the road and one of these triangular crafts flew so close to him that if he could have reached through the glass or something of his car, that he could have probably touched it with his hands. He was that close. And that's crazy, because these are very big ships. That's like saying, like, you could have reached out of your car and touched a Boeing 747 or something. And then maybe they're not quite as big as a 747, but they are rather large from what I've gathered. And Matt is a good friend of mine. We've been kind of out of touch, but we never stopped being friends. And he has always been a truthful, honest person. And I just thought that I would mention that because, as I said, in the past, that I encourage people to comment below and give me some of your experiences so that I can talk about them, and we can kind of make heads and tails of it all. So, but when he said that thing about possibly being able to reach out of his car and possibly even touch this thing, it was so close to him. I have a particular event that I would like to talk about, that if I could have reached through glass, I could have touched this thing. So this happened, I would say, probably about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And I was on my way to work, and it was probably about 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe about 6:15, 6:20 in the morning. So it was before the sun came up, and it was still pitch black out. There wasn't even a hint of sunlight out yet. And I was driving to work, and there's about a mile of road before I get to my job, to where I work, where I turn right into there. And I was just bebopping along. I was going like 45 miles an hour, because that's the speed limit. I was going 45, 50, maybe 40, something like that. Nothing particular. And I was just scooting along, and out of nowhere, from the left, this small green floating object flew right in front of my windshield. And when I talk about the size of it, it was about the size of a bottle cap of a Pepsi or a Coke bottle. And it was fluorescent green, I guess I should say. It was really bright though. And the most common comparison that I can make is like when you watch the beginning of The Simpsons. You know how Bart Simpson is going around and he's got this like radioactive rod that he like sticks in his pocket, and the thing like changes hands like 7 times throughout the intro. It kind of looked like that, except it was the size of a bottle cap. And this thing flew in front of my windshield and zipped around a few times and did some sporadic movements. And then it just zipped off. But it was right there. It was directly in front of me. And the thing zipped off. And I thought to myself, the first thing I thought to myself was, well, there aren't any humans in there. That's for sure. There are no humans in that thing. I can guarantee it. Because the thing was this big. Okay. So, and sometimes these things, they happen so briefly that getting out your phone and trying to record it isn't even a question. And I think that people who claim that they've never seen something in their life, chances are, I would say, they probably have. It's just that whatever it was that they saw, oh, ow. My other cat tried to jump up here, but then she jumped back down, but not before clawing me in the leg. But I think that a lot of people probably see some of these anomalous events throughout their lives, but they happen so briefly that they really can't make heads or tails of it, and then they just go on about their lives and don't really think much of it. But I would say that a good chunk of the things that I have seen, they happen very briefly, but it wasn't nothing. You saw stuff, you saw something, and it wasn't nothing. You didn't make it up in your brain. Okay, this thing that flew in front of me when I was driving to work that day, I saw it for 3-4 seconds maybe before it zipped off. So, that's just the name of the game. Sometimes it's like that. And, there have been times where, you mention these things to people, things you've seen and stuff like that. And one of the things that I find kind of frustrating, or very frustrating, is that, sometimes you'll mention these things to people, and instead of being like, really, well, tell me more about it or whatever, they're like, well, what kind of drugs were you taking that day? Or something like that. They're like, what were you smoking? Or something like that. And it's like, I don't know. Because that's exactly what happened to me. Because I walked into the office one day. Okay, this was several months after the fact. And my buddy named Donnie that I work with, we're not like super friends or anything like that. But, we're pretty friendly, And I walked in and there were some guys, they were talking about something that reminded me of it. And I was like, yeah, man, one day I was driving to work and I was right on this road right here. And this green orb just flew out in front of me, matched my speed, zipped around in front of my windshield for about 3 or 4 seconds and then scooted off. And my buddy Donnie was like, oh man, you must have been high or something that day. And it's like, come on, man. Like, it's not like I'm driving to work in the morning and being like, whoa, this acid is really something. Wow, let me get in this 70,000 pound truck and drive up the road, So, the thing, it just bothers me when people, when it's like, talking about UFOs, alien technology, aliens, anything like that. It's one of those topics where people seem to reserve the right to insult you straight to your face and call you a crazy person. Instead of just hearing you out and trying to learn more, their beliefs or whatever in the matter, just it gives them complete immunity to just kind of crap all over whatever it is you're trying to do. And it is frustrating. And after the fact, after he said that to me, I didn't really take anything to heart. I mean, we're still friendly with each other, and we still roll together sometimes at work where we're on the same jobs or something like that, and we'll just go about our business. But I never forgot that he did me like that. And I guess it kind of upsets me a little, but I guess I'm pretty used to it, because even my old man and my folks sometimes, they're, if I ever mention anything about aliens or UFOs, they do the face palm, they ay kind of thing, because I remember it was a few years ago, I was getting ready to go on to a podcast where I was going to talk about these things with a fella. I can't even remember what the name of the podcast was anymore, but just so happened that the day before, or a couple days before, I went out to dinner with my folks. It was my dad, my stepmom, my wife, and everybody. And we were sitting there having dinner, and they were kind of like, "So what have you been up to?" And I was like, "Well, I'm getting ready to go on to a podcast. I'm going to talk about some stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, what are you talking about? What are you going to do?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a podcast about UFOs and aliens and stuff." And he went, not this again, kind of thing. And so, but, and it kind of baffles me that someone can go through 70 years of their life and have never seen the first thing, like never the first hint of anything flying around in the sky that's not a bird or a bug or a helicopter or an airplane or something else you would typically see in the sky. I just don't see how people can go through their whole lives, because, like, seriously, you can sometimes be driving up the road and these things are there, and literally all you would have to do is move your eyes, like, "Oh, there it is. There's something strange. Maybe I should look at that. Maybe I should pay some attention to that," right? But, I mean, to each their own, I mean, maybe there's a reason why I see them more often than other people, like I don't think that I've ever been abducted by aliens. And if I ever was, they did a really good job at making sure that I didn't remember it. You know what I'm saying? So, but maybe there's something to it, and that's why I see them more often than other people. But most people that I talk to, if the conversation ever happens to come up, most people that I talk to, they can scratch their chin and be like, I did see something weird. Like, I was sitting out on my friend Billy that I used to know. He's a guy I used to work with. He said that one day he was out sitting on his porch and was hanging out with his wife, and she was smoking cigarettes, and he was just hanging out with her out there on the porch because he didn't smoke. And he was like, yeah, and like there's a tree line, around the back, out front of my house, and there was this green light that was just floating over top of the trees, and it was there, and then it like moved in like a 90-degree angle, like he said, it shot up and went choo and shot like that to the right, and the thing was gone. And he's like, but that's the only thing I ever saw. I'm like, well, it was something, I believe you, man. Other people might mock you, other people might try to make you feel bad about it, but you got me, at least there's me, because like my buddy Donnie at work, I was like, look, man, I don't know what I saw, but I saw something, and I saw what I saw, and I didn't just imagine it. Okay, I was driving to work, I was stone sober, nothing but coffee in my system. You know what I mean? So, and these are just things that happen sometimes, and that's what I really want to do. Is I want to get some accounts from other people. I want to hear other people's stories. I want to know what they think and their theories about it, and that way we can just start talking about it like it's fact. And one thing that I did want to mention was that I started an email address that, and I guess I made the mistake of trying to make it a business account. I don't know why. I guess just like maybe at some point I want to do business, make some kind of products or something to sell or something. So I don't know. So I made it a business account, and my account got flagged from Almighty Google, and they said that my account was rejected because of misleading or misinformation or misleading conduct or something like that. And I'm like, so I guess the thing about it is that you're not allowed to take the mystery out of aliens and UFOs. You're not allowed, I guess you're not allowed to just come out and say, yeah, they're real. They're real. They exist. They come here. They've already been here. And they've probably been here longer than humans have. At least coming and going. And, one thing... Oh, kitty catty. That Miss Cleo's trying to come up here. But I remember hearing a story about a woolly mammoth that they dug up somewhere, I want to say in Romania or somewhere in Europe. And they dug like 30 feet down, and they found like woolly mammoth bones, right? And the thing had been undisturbed for 20,000 years, 12,000 years, however many thousands of years that the thing had been buried. And I guess it takes 20 or 30,000 years to end up 30 feet below the dirt. I don't know. Maybe there was a mudslide or something like that caused it to get buried that deep. But anyway, that's beside the point. The thing about it was that when they dug this thing up, while they were unearthing it, they also found something that looked manufactured, and they couldn't figure out what it was, and I guess they still haven't. But when they dug it up, I think it was like, from the way they described it, was like a 90-degree piece of metal that was an alloy of some kind. Not sure exactly which kind of metals it was or what it was actually comprised of. But they found it, and it definitely didn't belong there. And to the best of anyone's guesses, they were like, maybe this is some kind of piece of a landing gear or something that possibly fell off of an alien ship or something. Maybe the thing came down and zapped it and took a sample of it, killed the thing, and when it was taken off, it left a little piece of something behind by accident. Because I think that's another thing, another possible misconception about aliens is that we as humans think that they're so advanced that aliens can't make mistakes. And I thought that was interesting, because I remember my wife told me one time, she said that our cats, right, they think that we're so impressive in some ways that they think that we don't make mistakes either. And that they might think that if you stepped on their tail or accidentally walked past and accidentally stepped on their paw or something, they think you did it on purpose because you're so smart, you ought to know better. Now, they do think we're bad hunters, supposedly, and that's why they bring us the bird or the mouse or something and put it on your pillow. They're like, you must be so hungry, right? So, But aliens, I guess, can make mistakes too, right? I mean, they're not perfect, and I'm sure that they have their flaws as well. And we always think of aliens as being like they're all uniform, that they all pretty much look the same. But I would say they're about as individualistic as we are, or as individualistic as a cat or a dog. You know, I have 5 different cats in this apartment. We're not supposed to, but I have 5 different cats in this apartment, and every single one of them has their own distinct meow. They have their own distinct look. They have their own distinct personalities and their own temperaments and all these different things. So, you know, I think that it's all something to consider. And I'm not going to say without a shadow of a doubt that an alien spaceship left a chunk of metal sitting beside a woolly mammoth from 30,000 years ago or whenever it was. But it is a strange find, and who knows how it actually got there. Maybe it just somehow got there, but it was a manufactured piece that they did find. And you know, they found other things that are really strange, like a screw or something that they found in like in fossilized, or you know, like really old stones that are carbon dated back millions of years. But something like a screw, that seems like a human thing. But I mean, then again, you know, a screw's a screw, and if it has uses, well, I mean, who's to say that aliens don't have screws too? I mean, it's a pretty good invention, I'd say. I mean, our airplanes are comprised of screws and rivets and stuff like that. So, but just to find something like that, or an old hammer or something like that from like way, 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 way long ago, it doesn't make sense how it even got there. And you know, that's another thing that I wanted to talk about in possibly a different episode, was that the misinformation and stuff going around on the internet is getting really tough to differentiate. I mean, it could be a completely bogus story, and I fell for it. You know what I mean? Like, and for a while back there, you used to be able to really differentiate between what AI was and what was a real video. So nowadays, you know, seeing videos and stuff of alien crafts and stuff, the AI has gotten so good that who really knows if you're seeing it, if it's a real thing, you know, or if somebody just had it computer generated, you know. But I do have a video that I'm going to post at some point. It is posted on my TikTok, but I don't really go over there anymore. But if you would like to go see it for yourself, my name over there on TikTok is Mike Feria Writes. That's Feria Writes. And it's all one word, at Mike Feria Writes. And, Agent Scully just got down. But, and that's where I'm at. And that particular video is pinned to the very top of my page. And, there's Miss Cleo. We call her Cleo Scratcha. So, but anyway, I'm getting distracted. But it's over there if you'd like to go check it out. And I'm going to post it over here too. But I have completely lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, well, just about the AI and stuff like that. You know, things are getting tough. But that video that I posted, it is completely unadulterated. I have done nothing to it but pull that phone out of my pocket and took a video of this thing. And I guess the best comparison I can make to it is it looked like just like you've probably seen videos of it before on the internet by now, where it looks just like a ball of light, but it was more of an oblong shape. It wasn't round. It was more like an oval shape. But it looked just like a little glowing ball of plasma or fire or something like that, and it was just scooting across the sky. And I saw it one morning when I was leaving my apartment to go to work, and I had set my lunchbox on the railing so that I could turn around and lock my front door behind me. And when I went to go get my lunchbox, I just happened to look up and I saw this thing, and it was flying probably about 2,000 or 3,000 feet up, maybe a little higher, maybe a little bit lower. And it's just me commenting on it and talking about like how difficult it really is to get these UFOs on camera, because sometimes the camera has a hard time focusing on it when it's got the whole sky behind it. And yeah, I think it was a really good catch for me. I wish there were other times where I was able to get some video done, but oftentimes they just happen so briefly that, you know, it is what it is. You just have to document it right there in your brain. And, you know, you can, later on, you can get to a piece of paper and a pen and you can jot it down. And that way you can keep it pretty fresh in your mind. Because honestly, going back and reading stuff like that, there are a few things that can jog your memory better than handwritten notes. Because the thing is, with writing by hand, it's different than just typing it into your phone. There's something about the process of thinking and putting pen to paper that really helps cement it into your memory. And sometimes when I go back, I'll read some of those things that I have written down in my notebook, and it's like no time had passed, because it is just, it just brings it right back to me. I mean, everybody's minds are differently, or everyone's brains are different, but that seems to work for me. And as time goes by, I want to keep on bringing you guys more videos talking about different things. So I encourage you to write some comments below and let me know some more about some things that have happened to you in your life and some things that you've seen. I want to talk about them, and I want to share them with the rest of the world. So come on with you, and we'll see you next week.